Welcome to Calendly, how to set appointments like a pro. So I really appreciate y'all joining today. Calendly changed my life a couple of years ago. Now, this is not going to be a master class. It is for just easy tips. We're going to go over some of just the basic functions. In fact, put in the chat right now, if you're using Calendly right now, maybe on a, if you are currently using it, just maybe chat it really quick so that I can kind of understand the audience a little bit. But we're going to go over some of the basics and how to super use it on a daily basis and how I've been able to save time and therefore money and efficiency with my clients, with my prospects, with, business people. And you guys even saw it when you were RSVPing for this. I'm sure you got text messages and emails about reminders. So I cannot wait to show you some of these simple things you can start using immediately. So what we're going to cover, and we're going to cover how to create an appointment properly. There are some tricks that I learned the hard way. Syncing with your calendar, some tricks I learned about your calendar and how Calendly reads your calendar for you. And then how you can, some other tips on how you can share it with everyone. So in the chat, Stan, you're using it pretty forcefully. Karen used it, but not. So you're going to enjoy these slides. I've got the how-to on these slides, definitely that you'll get after as well, including the recording. So really quick, I'm Jennifer Hernandez. I've been a loan officer for 28 years. I wish we had Calendly way back then, but we didn't. I had a piece of paper, a sticky note, and the remnants of kind of a cell phone. Maybe it was a BlackBerry back then. I don't even remember. But I've helped over 4,600 families. I'm an author as of recently. I'm a former business coach. For 10 years, I coached over 230 lenders who all have time management issues. And the first thing we always went through was calendar and how to set appointments, just like what I'm going to talk to y'all today. I'm a native Houstonian, mom of 2 boys, and a wife of 25 years to Fernando. So that is why Calendly is my friend. We have a lot going on. We all have a lot going on. That's why I love this picture so much, because it really is a great depiction of my entire day. Do you feel like this lately? Phone tag with clients. Hey, I'll call you between 3 and 4. You miss them. Then you don't get them because they go to somebody else because you just didn't make it and connect with them in time. Missed calls, no shows. You make an appointment and they don't show and you've reserved that time for them. And then time constraints to confirm, like, hey, they're coming in today at 4:30. You got to make sure that they show up. But you don't have any time to reach out and tell them to be there. So Calendly is the answer to all of these things. And that's what we're going to go through today. So we are going to set up an event. Even if you do know, like Stan, I know you know how to do this. I'm hoping I can teach you a trick or two of things that you might not have known. So we're going to set up, you can do several types of events that we're going to go through, but you can do webinar like what we're doing today is we set up a group event where people can RSVP. So you don't know this, but when you RSVP'd, you got an immediate email confirmation. Well, you'll remember this because you're here. And it gave you the Zoom link. I didn't have to generate that Zoom link. Calendly did it for me the minute that you RSVP'd. Super cool. And I told it when I wanted to remind you, 3 days ahead, 1 day ahead, and a few hours ahead is I think what we did for this one. I use it for intro calls with clients. I use it for the pre-approval consultation. Now, depending on what your business you're in, you'll just translate it to whatever that means for you, your client presentation. And by the way, for the pre-approval consultation, they get 3 options that you can set up in Calendly. They can do as a call, they can do as a Zoom, or they can do it as a in-person, in-office appointment. I've actually recently changed mine to not give the phone call option. I want to force my clients to be face-to-face with me. So I only give them the option of Zoom or face-to-face. And then I have a credit review call. So again, these are some of the different sale presentation points that I have in my business. So whatever, Karen, I know that you're in insurance, so yours might be labeled a little bit differently. Okay. So really think when you're setting up Calendly, what do I call these intro call, the presentation, a review call? Maybe they don't qualify right now. And Calendly lets you set up time frames and everything. So we're going to go over that. If I just have someone that I want a Zoom call with, they just have a Zoom call option, or just a face-to-face meeting. So you can do that as well. So the first thing I'm going to do before we get started on setting up the events, I'm actually going to show you mine, and we're going to flip the screen here, and we are going to actually show my actual Calendly that I have pulled up. Let's see, we're going to just show it right here. And we're going to share that screen. Okay. So this is my Calendly page. Okay. So you'll see I've put even different colors of things. You can put different colors. I have lots of them in here. Okay. So I can show more here, and you're going to see like 20 different blocks of things. But it lets you search in here. This is what I love. So when you're on a desktop, I can say Zoom, and it's going to take me to my, Zoom with Jen, 30 minutes. Also, if I have a guest for podcast, the other choice was a podcast record Zoom. So I can also type pre-approval, and it's going to come up. So once you have a bunch of different, things that you're doing, okay, okay, there you go. So pre-approval, the one in the middle is review, pre-approval, and numbers. I have another one, pre-approval consult, 30 minutes. It's pretty much the same thing, but we're just going to go in there, and we're going to actually, let's just pick the pre-approval. Let's just take one that I've already done, and let's show you. So to set up, the first thing you're going to do actually is, let's say you're starting from scratch. What you're going to do is you're going to hit this blue button up here that says create. Okay. So you're going to do an event type, or a one-off meeting, or a meeting poll. Now, meeting poll, I'm going to tell you, I've never used. I'm not going to make this super complicated. I'm sure there's tutorial videos if you want to get into some real super advanced user tricks. I keep it simple for me. Otherwise, I'm not going to use it. So I usually just do an event type here. And most of my stuff is a one-on-one. If you do group meetings, you could, like a webinar, you could use group, one host with a group of invitees. I actually there's a way that I can rig the one-on-one meeting for my groups, like with what I did for the invite for y'all today. I'm just going to do this one-on-one, different ways to meet. And I'm the host. Okay. So we're going to do next. And then we're going to call it an event name. So we're going to call it, we're going to say, I'm going to put test on here because that way I'll know that I'm testing. We're going to put test introduction phone call. So this would be the intro that your client has with you the very first time that they are talking to you. Okay. We're going to add a location. So here you see it gives you options of what you can do. If you prefer to use Microsoft Teams, not a problem. I prefer to use Zoom. You might prefer to use Google Meet. So what you do is when you're setting your account up on the back end under account, so that would be on the top bar, you would go into account, you put your password, your integrations for whichever platform that you want it to connect with on the Meet, the Zoom or the Google Meet, and it's going to automatically connect to that. You don't have to create it or anything in Google. It's going to do it all right here, which is super cool. So we're going to add a location. We're going to say that I can do a phone call. I will call my invitee, or you can choose that your invitee calls you. So I'm going to say there. Now I also want to add another location. So I want to add a Zoom option for this intro. So when the person is signing up, they're going to see one of these two options that they can choose what they want. Now I could add a third option. You can only have 3 options here. And so just be careful, but you could do a third option. And then you write a description. So in this is what the client will see. So you want it to sound, nice and grammatically correct. In this introductory phone call, Jennifer will review blah, 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 let's just say. And then I can't, looking forward to connecting. So whatever you want your people to see is what you put in here. Now, you don't want it to be a novel, okay? It does need to be a little bit brief and easy to understand. Now, down here, it's important to see this link, Calendly. This is the URL that people will see if you don't have it hyperlinked later. So when later you copy this link to insert, whether you insert it in social media, your emails, et cetera, this is what people will see. So if you want to rename it, you can rename it here, but it's feeding off of what it sees up here. And that's what it's calling it down here. Okay. So I probably would shorten it down here to maybe intro phone call. I'd probably shorten it. So you can change this down here, okay? You can also make it a different color. Let's say I want it to be lime green. Maybe I want all my phone calls to be lime green, okay? So you can have color schemes. So then you click next. Now, this is really important of when people can book this event. So you want to probably limit how far out they can schedule. This means they'll be able to see your calendar, and we will talk about that of how does it even see your calendar. Okay, we will go over that. So I usually do 60 days in advance. No one really, I mean, you could even do 30 days. Okay, let's just do 30 because most people are going to book right away. Actually, for an intro phone call, honestly, I want them to see like 10 days out. 10 calendar days, because you don't want someone to do an intro call 60 days from now. So that's probably what you're going to do. So you can do that, or you can put indefinite, or you can do within a date range. So maybe this particular thing, you only want them to do it between, maybe you're doing some type of promotion, and maybe that's what this link is going to be. Because remember, I had all those different boxes. So sometimes I create a specific event box that's just for one type of an event. And so I'll give you an example. I did a webinar one time, and I paid this company to do it, and they fed this webinar, and I had like 500 people on the webinar. Like, this is no joke. Well, maybe like 492. Okay. And I only wanted them to book within a certain date range. Like, it had to be within 7 days, or it just was too much. I didn't want them indefinitely going into my calendar. So that's when you would possibly use a date range. So that's what I did there. So that's an example. But this one's just going to be 10 calendar days they can choose. This duration is really important because it really controls your time, and it also lets the recipient know how long they should expect the call is going to be. Some of you might want to do 30 minutes on an intro call. I actually do 15 because I don't know if everybody qualifies. I don't know if my prospects are a right fit. So this really protects my time. I actually do 15. You can do odd ones, like it does let you do custom, like you could do 20, if you want to. Let's just do that. We'll do 20 minutes. And that gives you a buffer. If you finish in 15, you got an extra 5 minutes. So you can do that. And this is where you can do down here, you can put a schedule. And this really lets people know when this reads your calendar for those types of days. So let's say you want to take calls on Saturdays. I'm going to set custom hours. Okay, Sunday unavailable. Let's say I want to tweak Monday, and I want to say, okay, Monday I'll take calls between 8:30 a.m. and 5. Let's say Wednesday is my late night. So you're going to change these all based on, you'll get the drift. But let's say Wednesday night's my late night, and I'll take calls until 7 p.m. So you get to schedule it how you want it. And then let's say I want to be available on Saturdays from 9. My availability on Saturday is actually 9 to 12. Now, don't worry, because I'm going to teach you how, based on what's on your calendar, like I can't talk this Saturday 9 to 12 because I have Pablo's baseball tournament in like Lake Jackson, like an hour away. So Calendly is not going to offer anyone Saturday because I have it blocked out on my calendar. So it's really important that whatever you're doing, even personal stuff, you've got to put it in your calendar so Calendly does not read it, okay? Because it will offer people things based on reading your calendar, and it is instantaneous. Like Calendly is smart. So we will go over that. Now, you might want to have time as a buffer before and after your events so that no one schedules, on the heels of another event. I actually like back-to-back, so I don't have a buffer. Now, this is really important. So I'll be interested to know if Stan, who already uses this, knows this. Additional rules for your availability. This one I learned the hard way. You want to set some time to where people cannot book on your calendar within a certain amount of time, because they'll sneak in there. And let's say you get really busy and you're just away from email for a couple of hours or your calendar, you may not know that someone's scheduled. And it's like, oh my gosh, I missed a call one time because I'm like, how did she get in there? So you want to, you put here that you start time increments and increments of 30 minutes, meaning every 30 minutes they could schedule, or you could do out on the hour, every hour, however you want to do that. But down here is what I'm talking about. Invitees can't schedule within 4 hours. Now that's a default. You could put hours, you could put days, you could put minutes. So I think 3-4 hours, you're probably looking at your calendar within that time, but definitely create a buffer. And you can also put the maximum number of times. I used this one for that webinar. Okay. I was so consumed. I mean, now 500 people, that's excessive. You're probably not always going to have that, but I wanted to limit to talking to like 7 or 8 people per day on this thing because I had other clients I had to deal with as well. So depending on what kind of event you're creating, you can limit the number of events or the times that this particular block can be used. Okay. So I've never made it a secret event, so I don't always use all of these things, but I'm going to push next down here. Okay. Now this is a really great feature. Invitee questions is really, really powerful. So I like to use this to, and you can delete this as well. Like this one, please share anything that will prepare us for our meeting. I don't know. To me, that's a little bit vague. But let's say, I know that Karen, who's on here, she's in insurance. Okay. So let's say that Karen wants to say, do you currently have insurance? That's a yes or no question. So that's going to be radio buttons. Answer 1 is yes. Answer 2 is no. And then you can delete this one. You could be having an event and say, what do you want for lunch? And you could put options. That would be a multiple lines option where you could say, I want turkey sandwich, I want chicken salad, or I want nothing. So this is really cool that it lets you choose what you want. So I'm going to apply that. Let's see. Add a new question. Now, do be careful here because you don't want so many questions that people get turned off depending on what type of event this is, or what type of question. You don't want people to be like, oh my gosh, I got to answer 10 questions to get on Karen's, or Dave's or Stan's calendar. Like, I don't think so. So I just ask really simple things like, who may we thank for referring you to us? Okay. So I can make that required, and that's going to be a 1-line answer, and I'm going to apply that. Okay. So you can make them required or not. I definitely want to get their phone number. Do not ever miss that one because that's a really important one. So phone number. And that's here, there's a thing for phone number. And we want to apply that. And let's say I want to put phone number way up here. I want to put phone number here. Let's say I want to put it sooner. There's a way that I could, oh, here you go. You can move it. See, isn't that cool? And then on phone number, I want to make that required. Okay, so some questions may be required and some might not. So just put some thought into your clientele or whatever you're using this for. So you're going to save it and close it. Now, workflows is something I have not used a lot, but I suggest this. This is a really cool feature. I'm not going to go super in depth, but it's an if this, then that. And I will tell you, I used it when I did the webinar. And imagine 500 people. Now, they didn't all want an appointment with me, but like 200 of them did. And I did an if this, then that, where they had to answer certain questions. So I did an event where they got to book a call with me, and it was like a 30-minute call. And if they answered the questions in a certain way, using workflows, if they answered and they said, you know, my credit is below a certain amount, it auto sent them an email that said, you know, thank you so much, blah, blah, blah. It sent them some of my credit videos. Like you might want to defer those people so that you can let the people that most qualify get in first. So if that pertains to you, workflows is definitely, you know, you just want to find a tutorial video on Calendly, but that's the example of what workflows can do for you. It can really filter out who can get on your calendar. I'm about to create one for the link that I have on social media because, you know, I get some calls on social media that could be diverted in a different way, like, hey, what state you're in. And, you know, I just need to protect my calendar a little bit more. And what I'm going to do is the people that don't answer the questions a certain way, I might defer them to where it'll give them a different link to make a call during a certain amount of time, where I only want to take those calls on Fridays or something. So again, depending on the audience, you can create your own new event and divert it and use workflows if you want, which is really, really cool. Okay. So you would push on here, get started with workflows. It's pretty self-explanatory, but that once you go through it, it'll give you, you know, lots of good help. So that's what that is. Now, this one is really important on the notifications and the cancellation. So this is where you tweak it, like I tweaked with y'all, of what you got once the appointment was made. Okay, so this one, I want to turn on that people are going to get an email reminder. Okay, so it formats it for you. You can change any of this that you want. Like, I may not want them to see their questions and answers because, I mean, they already know what they are. So I'm going to delete that. I might put on here, okay, looking forward to our call. Okay, so I've changed it just a little bit here. Okay. So you can add, subtract. Remember, this is an email. And when you set up Calendly in the account section, it already has your name, phone number, like your salutation. So it's going to feed this into who you are. So you don't have to rewrite every time who you are, like, you know, Jen Hernandez, Legacy Mutual Mortgage. You don't have to do all that because it's already in your account, you know, set up. So this is the cool part. Let's say I started advertising, well, the intro call probably doesn't need a 3-day ahead of time confirmation, but for y'all, when you're doing an event, we did 3 days ahead of time because you might have RSVP'd a week ago, right? So, I mean, I want you to remember 3 days ahead of time. It gave you the opportunity to cancel. So I had some people that canceled, and it reminded you again a couple days later. So let's say for this phone call, we want to do 24 hours before. You can add up to 3 reminders. So then I want to remind 12 hours before. And my third reminder is going to be 2 hours before. Now, text, that's why I want to get their phone number, by the way. Text is going to be down here. So I'm going to personalize this. Now, this right here, you want to be short just because, you know, it's text, right? But you could change it if you want. You might want to do, again, for the phone call, 24 hours before, and then you want to do 3 hours before, and you want to do, because people usually see text first, and then you want to do, maybe you want to do 30 minutes before. Okay, like, hey, phone calls in 30 minutes. So I think that's a really super powerful tool, but remember, you have to go in and you have to turn those on. I have not used this for email follow-up because I like to control the follow-up part of it, because I have my own stuff behind the scenes. So I have not ever used the email follow-up portion, just in case, you know, the meeting didn't go like I wanted, or, you know, I want to fine tune that follow-up, but you could do this as well. So does anyone have questions? Now, down here, the confirmation page, the collect payments I don't use, but if you do collect for a service, you could definitely do it there, where they, like, if they have to pay before they talk to you for a certain consultation, that's a great feature. Now, this confirmation page is what they're going to see here. And you can also promote another event, like, hey, thanks for coming to this. I look forward to seeing you. And here's another event. So you add a custom link there. Like, I'm telling you, this is super powerful. Okay. I've done that for like my lunch and learns and stuff. So this is just a regular single event. I want to see if you'll have any questions about this first, and then I'm going to show you, this is for a one-to-one person. I am going to show you the how to rig it for an event where you want a lot of people to attend. So we're going to go through that in a sec. I do have one question. Oh, thank you, Karen. Amazing. Thank you. My goal is that you just feel really comfortable, and for those of you using it, that you learn a couple new things. So let's go back. I'm going to put in here, I'm going to show you the one actually that was for this event. We're going to go back to event types. And we're going to go to, well, let's go to this one, because this actually, this is good to show you. So I'm going to go to a in-person event, lunch and learn, that I had a few weeks ago. Okay. So I just want to show you a couple of different things. This was definitely just an in-person meeting. I maxed it to 100 people. I made it a different color. Now, when people can book this event, this is the important part. I did everything unavailable, and I added a date override. And the date override was, let's say I'm going to do this in October, okay? The date override, let's say I'm going to do it on Halloween. This was an event, let's say the event is 10 to 12. 10 o'clock a.m. to 12 p.m. That's the only thing that it's going to offer people, because it's one event and you're only filling that one event. So this is the only time they can schedule it, because the event is on the 31st. Okay. So we'll see in a minute how that looks. And then I only want them to be able to schedule, since I want everybody to come. I mean, if someone schedules an hour before, that's totally fine with me. I'd love you to come, right? So I'll say you can schedule up to an hour before. So I'm going to save that. Now, the invitee questions, if you're doing lunch, for example, you could put here again, you know, what do you want? Do you want turkey? Do you want this? Do you want that? That's what I put here on your choice of lunch. Oh, see, I did it here. Chicken salad, turkey, veggie wrap, none. Okay. So on the notifications, again, I did notifications. I did them way ahead of time, like 7 days, because some people, you know, I was filling the event for a couple weeks. And then on the confirmation page, oh, this is what I wanted to show you. I did have another event. So I did one class in the morning, and then I did another class. It's like, hey, 10 to 12. Then we're going to have lunch from 12 to 1. And if you want to stick around and get some extra learning, we're going to have a class from 1 to 3. So if you're doing a big event like that, it's a great way to piggyback, or if you want to advertise some other event, I put the link here to add the custom link, and here's the link right here. So I went to Calendly, I went to my main page, I made a box, is what I call it, for this other event, the ABCs of the contract, and it linked it to that. So it's super, super cool. So that's just an idea for you, is you can promote a lunch and learn for next week. You can promote some other event that you have. Okay. So any questions about that, on how to create something that is either in person, webinar, maybe you're having a sales event, maybe you're having a conference, something in person. It's super, super cool. So I'm going to go back. And now what I'm going to show you is for when you do have those events, there's a way to see and create an RSVP list. Now, this is what I really love the most. So let's go to scheduled events right here, this tab up here. Now you can see right here, upcoming, these are things that I have. Okay. These are things that people have scheduled out up until, oh, Wednesday, November 8th. Who knew? So right here, let's say today, this is what we're doing today, right? So I had 18 people sign up for this, and I go to details. So it tells me right here who was here, but I can also get it in Excel. So I go here to edit, or I go to export, and it's going to export it to Excel for me. And then you can manipulate it. So obviously, those of you that came, I'm going to send an email that says, hey, thanks for coming. Here's this, that, and the other. I'm also going to send a second email to the people that didn't come and say, hey, sorry you couldn't make it, and give them probably the same information, but I'm going to word it a little bit differently, if that makes sense. So, but it's super easy to export. You've got it in Excel. And then you can upload those names and numbers to your CRM. You can do all kinds of cool things. I just send them to my virtual assistant, Shalom, and say, do this, that, and the other. And she's like, okay. So it's really super cool. And you can also, when I do in-person events, what I do is I use it in Excel. We make it pretty and we print it. So we have a checklist, when they come in, they just put their check like, hey, I'm here. So it's really cool for events, okay, of what's upcoming. So I wanted to show you that. And then I can also go to past events, okay? So you can really look what's coming. Sometimes I'm like, oh, did I ever talk to that client? What day did I talk to them? And so I'll go to past, and I'll maybe, type in their name under the filter section, and you can, so this does have a searchable, exportable, capability. So I just wanted to show y'all that, okay? So now we're going to get into, and if you have any questions, remember to chat. I know we're going kind of fast. Let's say now I've got a lot more boxes than this. So you're going to see, I've got, lots of events. I like to do lots of events, webinars, things like that. And then I've also got, maybe I want to, maybe know that this person wants Zoom. And so I just give them the Zoom link. So I want to show you something with your calendar. So here's where, let's say I do this, we just did the test introduction call. Now I'm ready to copy the link. You copy it here and you can post it anywhere, social media, your email, anything that you send out to clients. So this is what they're going to see when they view the booking page. Now, I do need to tell you, you can send it to people and they might not be responding, or for example, I was on the phone the other day with a client and I just booked it right then and there. Like, why send them the link? I had them on the phone. I was like, okay, we need a more robust conversation. We need a Zoom. I sent them my Zoom. No, I did it. I said, hey, I have Friday at 4 o'clock available. Can we do a Zoom then? They said, yeah. So I created this for them. I went to Calendly on my phone. You can download the app on your phone. I said, okay, ooh, I've got the 20th available, let's say. I clicked it and I took, 4:30, let's say. Now I know this is a phone call. I sent them the Zoom link, but you get the picture. And so this is exactly what they're seeing. And this is what I was seeing. So I'm scheduling the appointment as if I'm the client. Because I said, why send them the link? I had them on the phone. Let's just do it right here and here. And I put it in here. So I know they get the reminders and I know that they get the text reminders, all that good stuff. So I'm going to click on here and say, ooh, I want 4:30. I'm going to put in all this information for them. And then they get the email confirm and they're going to get the reminders. So super, super cool. Now, I am going to flip back, y'all, to the presentation. So I've got the presentation here. If you can't see it, let me know. And I'm going to scroll down to, we're going to talk about calendar. Okay, so this is really important. This is just a quick snapshot of my calendar. And this was the registration today. So on your calendar, so when I had to take this off, you know, the view of my calendar so that I knew not to schedule anything over it, right? So when I put webinar Calendly here, I on my calendar had to show it as free because it automatically, in Outlook, I use Outlook, whatever you use, you have to check. It shows me as busy. If normally it says, oh, you're busy, you're scheduling something, you're busy. You have to change it from the default to say free. Because if you don't put free, people can't schedule because Calendly will think that you're not free. Okay, this is super important. So once I open an event, like let's say a webinar that we're scheduling, I went in quickly. I did it on my calendar. I went in quickly and I made myself the first RSVP because I need it to get on my calendar so that some random person, you know, let's say someone who's wanting a Zoom call, if I have it free, they're going to show it and book them right in the middle of my webinar. I didn't want them to do that. So I went in, I was the first of 100 spots filled on the webinar. And you can see here, it tells you all the information. So as days went on, whenever I want to see how my webinar is filling up, I'm like, ooh, 7, 8, 12, 10, 50. You can see because as your event fills up, it's going to show on here. Okay, which is super cool. So on your calendar, now this is just, I'm going over this for an event because this was the hardest thing for me to find out. You know, the one-off appointments is actually super easy, but on your calendar, whatever shows as free, like let's say for the phone call, I think we did what, like 8:30 to 5, okay? Whatever is free on your calendar, Calendly is going to offer. Whatever is busy, Calendly is not going to offer. So you need to input drive time. The worst feeling is when someone schedules and you're like, how did they get in there? And it's drive time. And you're like, oh my God, I got to get this off. Like it's drive time. I can't be talking to them. You know, I can't do a Zoom while I'm driving. So make sure you put drive time, make sure you show busy those things that you don't want Calendly to offer. That's why on Saturday, Calendly will not offer anything for me because it's my son's baseball game. Baseball is already consuming my morning calendar. Now I'm going to go in and tweak Calendly for a date override. And I'm going to override it with 3 to 5 in the afternoon because we're going to be back from baseball. I'm going to take some people from 3 to 5. So when I send the link to my clients that want to get in there, I send them the specific box that pertains to, you know, intro call, you know, whatever I want to send. So they're able to see that I'm free in the afternoon because it normally wouldn't offer them the afternoon because I don't ever do 3 to 5 on a Saturday. So I have to go date override what I know the schedule is. I hope that makes sense. Okay. So this calendar thing took me a while. Like I'm giving you like $1 million, not $1 million, but I'm giving you a very high level nugget here that took me painfully time to figure out was this free business on my calendar. So I don't know what kind of calendar you use, Google, whatever. They all probably work the same. They default to busy when you schedule something on your calendar. So I put free on things that even though I know I'm doing something, they can kind of interrupt it and schedule over it. Okay. So that's really super important. Now, the last thing I wanted to show you, we've got certain steps here that I've been showing you. You definitely want to download the app to your phone, because when you're out of the office and away from the desktop, Calendly is so user-friendly. I go to Calendly on my phone. I scroll down to the box that says, I'm like, okay, the person I'm talking to or that I'm texting needs an intro call. I send them the link. This person that I'm talking to needs my Zoom only link. I send them the Zoom only link. So I'm constantly texting that. Also, my assistants have the corresponding links to the types of appointments. So when they answer for me, they have it. Okay. I put these on social media, on my descriptions of videos. I put one link specifically that I created for people that, I might get from that source, so that it codes it that way. And I know that, oh, this is a social media lead. Okay. So it's super, super cool. So in sharing the info, I've got one other thing I wanted to show you. Okay, I'm showing you a couple of emails here. So I've got them also embedded in my emails. Okay, so let's say I talk to someone on the phone. I mean, I answer the phone, like, why send them Calendly? I'm talking to them on the phone. Then I always follow up with an email. So I have a template email that I created in my email, and I said, and here it is. And then if I hadn't talked to them yet, and we're just my assistant or me or responding to an email, it says here, you can schedule here the 10-minute call. Okay. Let's say I haven't talked to them yet. If I have talked to them already, I'm just going to erase that line because I've already talked to them. They don't need to schedule, right? So in my workflow and my emails, you can embed these things as well and make it a hyperlink, because, when you see all those letters, it's super ugly. So make sure you're hyperlinking things. That's just a secret for you. And then here's an example of when after I pre-approve somebody, I always send a follow-up email, and I say, hey, the next step is let's do a Zoom to review the details that I just sent you on the email. So here's a link to my calendar to get on my Zoom. So I, again, hyperlinked it there. So these are just some ideas for you. And then in my marketing blast, like when y'all, RSVP'd for this, I had a button on my, I use BombBomb, but I had a little button there that said RSVP. So when you decided to take action, you clicked on RSVP. That code for the Calendly box that corresponded was there, and you clicked it, and there you have it. Okay. So that is today's information. I'd love to hear who learned something new. I'm going to actually stop. So those of you that are watching us later, goodbye. We're going to say thank you for joining. I'm just going to push stop here for a second. Stop recording.